Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know by now I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, I recently done a review on the Fujifilm X-S10, which will be up here somewhere. A little while ago I done a review of the Sony a6600 that I purchased, and I love that camera as well, and that'll be up here somewhere hopefully. And as they're both very similar and they're priced around the same sort of price mark, and they're both APS-C cameras with similar sensors, I thought it'd be ideal to do a comparison between the two. And this video here is just a quick comparison between these two cameras. It might help you make a buying decision as to which one you go for. And I think either or, you know, off the bat, either or are going to be a great choice. They're both great cameras and I love using both of them. But I think the Fuji is probably a bit better for stills, not quite so good for video, and the other way around. So the Sony is certainly better for video, and maybe not quite so good for stills. And I'm not talking image quality here. They're both very, very good. I'm talking more practicalities and using them. Anyway, so let's have a look at the a6600. This was the first camera I reviewed. It's APS-C body, 24 megapixel sensor. It weighs 465 grams. Or is it 500? I can't remember. Let's look at my notes. That's the best thing. Sorry, 503 grams. So let's look at the weight first. This one weighs 503 grams, which is the body only Sony a6600. The Fuji X-S10, which is this one, is 465 grams. So a wee bit lighter, but it is literally a wee bit. That could be counteracted by what lenses you put on it. So the weight isn't going to be an issue. They're both extremely similar. They both take one SD card. The Sony is at the bottom where the battery goes. They've just put it in the bottom there. UHS-1 card. It's not UHS-2 speed, it's UHS-1. That goes in the bottom there. Same as on the Fuji. That's one SD card slot, UHS-1. No differences there. That just goes in the side here. A little bit more awkward to get in and out, but hey ho, it's, you know, pretty much identical. So that's the Fuji. Now they've both got in-body image stabilization. I actually feel from the brief time I've had the Fuji X-S10, the image stabilization is better on the Fuji than it is on the Sony. Now that's just my gut feeling. Well, it's based on results as well. I've got photographs taken on this, taken down to 1/10 of a second, and I've got those pins sharp. I couldn't do that on the Sony. It was at least like 1/30th of a second to get it sharp. So I'm pretty convinced that the Fuji's in-body image stabilization is just a wee bit better than the Sony's. What else have we got here? I said they've both got APS-C sensors. The Sony's a 24 megapixel standard sensor, where the obviously made by Sony, and the Fuji is an X-Trans 26 megapixel sensor. The results from both are going to be very similar. So far, I think you're getting the picture. Oh dear. But you know, you're not going to have much change out of either of them. You're going to get great results from either or. The grip on both of them are very similar. It's got a really nice grip on the Fuji. Although I did find with bigger lenses, such as the 16 to 80 lens, because it's a bit wider, my fingers did rub against the lens a bit with the Fuji. It's not as comfortable as the grip on the Sony a6600. That's got a really, really nice grip. I've always said that since I've had it, and I love using it because it's got such a nice grip. The viewfinder on the Fuji is better than the viewfinder on the Sony. I like this viewfinder. It's a conventional pentaprism style. It's you know, in the center of the camera, you know, at the top. And that's a great viewfinder. If you're doing a lot of photography, not really an issue with video, because with video you're more likely to use the screen on the back. But with the Fuji, you'll find eye relief is, I think, a little bit better on the Fuji than it is on the Sony. Also on the Fujis, you can increase the display, the display size of the information. So I do find getting the back open on the Fuji is a little bit of a pain in the butt. You have to really put your fingers in to the back here to get that open. I don't enjoy that so much, but you know, it's just something you've got to get used to. But on the Fuji, you can set, I've got the display set to small there, but you can set the display, and certainly in the viewfinder, that's on video, that's why. And so you can set the display larger. I'm talking about the information along the bottom of the display. You can set to small or large. It's set to small at the moment, because in video you have to have it on small to be able to see your audio levels, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. It has got audio levels on the back there, although I do find the audio display on the Sony to be much clearer and much better than it is on the Fuji. So I find you've got a clearer audio display there, but the viewfinder on the Sony works, and it's okay. It's rangefinder style viewfinder, but it does the job, you know. It's okay, but I don't find the eye relief quite as nice as what it is on the Fuji. As I say, the images are going to be very similar from either of them. I will put on my Flickr page some samples taken with the Fuji X-S10 and the samples I took with the Sony a6600. I'm not going to put them on this video because it's kind of pointless. YouTube compresses it so highly anyway, it's a bit pointless. So there'll be a link to my Flickr site in the description. Take a look at the actual images on Flickr. You get a much better representation of what they're like. Now, with the, I call this like Sony standard lens, this Xi 16-70. The weight and size is very similar to what it is on the Fuji, so that's not going to be much difference. I think really the key here is talking about video features, because the Fuji has got some great video features and it produces great video. But the one nice thing that the Fuji has for video, which the Sony doesn't have, is this 3-inch articulating screen, although it is awkward to get out. It's got this lovely 3-inch articulating screen. So many manufacturers are doing it now. Great if you're working by yourself and you need to get content. It's also got, which the Sony hasn't got, tally light, so you can see clearly that it is actually recording video. You can see a little light comes on there, where you can't see that on the Sony. No, you can't see it on the Sony A7C either, but you can on the ZV-1. That's got a bright red tally light on the ZV-1. So that's a big plus there for the Fuji, an articulating screen and a record tally light, and it's got many video codecs. It's also got 422 output via the HDMI port. From memory, I'm pretty sure it's 420 HDMI out on the Sony. They're both internally 420 codecs for recording video internally is 420. So there's no difference there. The Sony has got, I hope you're keeping up with this because it gets really common. You might have to watch this video a few times to get to grips as to what the differences are. I'm just, glossing over it. But Sony on the side here has got your HDMI output, micro HDMI, just the same as on the Fuji. And it's got your mic jack and a headphone jack. So that's great. Certainly great to have a headphone jack to monitor your audio, whereby with the Fuji it's got the mic jack, but it hasn't got a headphone jack. But what we do supply, you see on the side there, it's got a mic jack right at the top here, which is great because it doesn't obscure the screen. So the mic jack is on the top there, but you can monitor the audio via the USB-C port, and we do supply, this little dongle. So they do supply this little USB-C to to USB-C to 3.5mm jack for monitoring the audio, and that will just plug into the side of the camera so you can monitor your audio that way. but you can't use the USB-C port for charging whilst you're monitoring the audio. I'm not terribly excited about that idea, but at least you can check the audio before you start filming if you so need to. I would highly recommend that you do if you're in a position where you can. With the Sony, you just plug the headphones straight into the side of the Sony. So that's one thing. They both have USB-C power delivery, so you can run the camera off of a USB-C block. Same you can on the Sony and on the Fuji, but the Fuji has a 30-minute video record limit internally. If you're recording externally to something like an Atomos Ninja, then you've got no worries because you can keep on going until the battery runs out. But the Sony internally, same as on the A7C and the ZV-1, you can record for as long as the battery and the SD card runs for. There's no video record limit, and it's great for what I do because I do tend to waffle on. So being able to just leave a camera running and then me cut it down in the edit is so much more straightforward, and I prefer it that way. But I can work around the Fuji, it's not a problem, So that is a very, very quick run through. Oh, the Sony, by the way, hasn't got an articulating screen. It's got the tilty-wilty up screen, but you can still tilt it right the way up so you can see see what you're filming. Again, it's great. Slightly obscured by the viewfinder here, but nothing major. So there you go. So that's the sort of major differences between the a6600 and the Fuji X-S10. To completely summarize, I know what I would do when I go out. To take photographs, unless I'm using my very long lens, I would use probably the Fuji X-S10, because as a hybrid stills camera, the autofocus is great, setting it up is great, and it's a great stills camera. And if I'm doing video like in the studio here, I will almost certainly, well, no, I say almost certainly, I probably will almost certainly carry on using the a6600, predominantly because of the no video record limit. That's the main reason I would use the a6600, and I can plug in headphones straight into it without having to go via the USB port, because I'm using the USB port 9 times out of 10 for powering it. And the other thing is, the battery life on the a6600 is better than the Fuji X-S10. That don't bother me with stills, because if you're out and about taking photographs, you just whack a battery out and put a replacement in. But when you're working in the studio, you want a long battery life. You don't want to keep mucking around with changing batteries. You don't want it to die halfway through a shoot. Although, as I say, I can power it via USB. The actual rated battery, I think on the Sony is 810. That's what the CEPA rating is, 810 shots off for Sony, and that is completely, I would say that is completely true. On the Fuji, well below that is rated at 300 and, what did I write it down, 325 shots. That's a CEPA rating, 325 shots per battery. So yeah, my recommendation for what it's worth would be the Fuji predominantly for stills with some video, and the video will still be great, but some video, and the Sony for video and some stills, because I find the eye relief on the Sony is not as good as it is on the Fuji. But at the end of the day, they're both great cameras. They really are great cameras. You're not going to be disappointed. You don't need to go full frame when you've got such great APS-C cameras. Although I have got full frame, I've got 2 Canons and I've got my Sony a7C. But you don't need to. But yeah, I think the handling of both of them is, is lovely. It's really, really good. So there we go. That's a quick. I hope I've not muddied the waters more than what it was before you started to watch this video. As I say, you might need to watch it a few times to get to see what the major differences are between these two cameras. Yeah, That's the Fuji X-S10 and the Sony a6600. So hope you found that useful. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit the like button if you like the content of my, well, not my channel, of this video. That would be awesome. I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed to this channel. It encourages me to make more videos, and I just really like it. And I love people that make comments, particularly if they're civilized comments. I do try to reply to as many as I can, but I'm not the best at doing that, so I do, you know, forgive me for that. But thanks very much for watching, and please enjoy the channel. Cheers, bye for now.